everyone, to the 5th episode of Vet Talks, powered by MetaVet Plus. I'm your host today, Alfred Pallarca, and I'm here today with a very special guest, Elisa Gambardella from SOLIDAR.
Hi, Alfie. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
How are you, Elisa? How are you doing today?
Quite good, although I'm suffering from quite a nasty cough, so apologies in advance if my voice will sound a bit off.
That's fine. But yeah, well, we are here today to invite you for a discussion about the activities of SOLIDAR and also some projects. But first, maybe you can tell us your journey and how you got to working now in your position.
Sure. Thank you for the question. I think my first approach to lifelong learning and how important it is was while I was active in the Students' Union back when I was a student in Italy. That's almost 15 years ago, hurts a bit to say. And I think as one of our main demands was really for everyone to have access to learning experiences and possibilities. This is where I started to be aware of the importance of it, also outside of formal education paths. So that was maybe my very first encounter. Then I had the opportunity to work at the Ministry of Labour back in Italy, notably on the Youth Guarantee Scheme and the implementation in my country. And there, of course, one of the main aims was for everyone to be active, be it in a job opportunity, training opportunity, or a learning one. So once again, I had the opportunity to explore more and learn about this very important aspect of society for both personal and community development, I would say. And then finally, I joined SOLIDAR in 2018, and after a couple of years, I became coordinator for education and lifelong learning, and in this way, also joined the lifelong learning platform where I could learn, and I still continue to learn every single day about this.
Well, so it's been a 7 years of journey with SOLIDAR, and it seems like it's been a very fruitful journey for you, huh?
Yeah, an enjoyable one, yes.
And maybe you can tell more about the initiatives of SOLIDAR.
Yes, so SOLIDAR is a progressive network for civil society organizations working to advance social justice through a just transition. So as you see, we work on broader topics than education and lifelong learning, and notably on the social affairs, international cooperation, and indeed education and lifelong learning. But so the way we look at education and lifelong learning is as a means for social inclusion and for the achievement of social justice. So in this sense, we conduct a number of activities, but what we mostly care about is, of course, to provide to our more than 50 member organizations capacity building opportunities on the one hand, to be able to participate and be empowered to participate more in democratic processes at the EU level, and also on the policy and advocacy side, of course, to try to push for our members' priorities at the European level as well.
That's really great. And I know one of the projects that you guys have at SOLIDAR is the Just for All project,
yes,
which is tackling the issue of lifelong learning and vocational education. Maybe you could provide more information about this specific project.
Yeah, it's a project we are very enthusiastic about. We run it together with the EAEA, the European Association for the Education of Adults. And the aim is basically to look into how adult learning can improve its practice in order to serve a just transition, the achievement of a just transition. And on the other hand, how just transition policies can include a lifelong learning dimension better than they have been doing so far. So politically, it's a very important project for us. It is in its second year. We have been having both an educational side of the project and a policy one. So we run a MOOC that is available on the website of EAA currently. So I also invite everyone to join, of course, the courses that are available there. And through this MOOC, we are educating educators to then replicate courses for learners to be able to learn about what the just transition is, because maybe in Brussels it's a talked topic, but not necessarily in daily life in any other town in Europe. And on the other hand, to develop competencies and skills that can allow to be part of it and promote it. And then the policy aspect is coming up soon. We're going to publish a roadmap that will exactly aim to provide with some pointers for policymakers to see how can adult learning contribute and be included more in the vision for a just transition.
And for those of us who are not, very familiar with this, maybe you can elaborate more as well about what the just transition is.
Yeah, SOLIDAR also runs, among other initiatives, the European Alliance for a Just Transition. And the aim there is exactly to make sure that at the policymaking level and in society in general, I would say, there is an understanding that if, of course, we need a green transition to happen to make sure that society is sustainable from an environmental standpoint, it is also important that this happens without leaving no one behind. So this is the basic understanding we have. But if you visit the website of the European Alliance for just transition, you can find a more detailed position. And what we love about this alliance is that we could bring together quite a wide range of diverse actors that do agree on the same position, which is not always that common at the European level, to make sure that we achieve some social change eventually.
Yeah, I think it's important because I think sometimes living in Brussels and working here, we kind of get used to the jargon, and I think it's important for people as well to kind of understand the specific vernacular that we use.
And I plead guilty for using acronyms, so sorry for that.
No, I mean, it's completely fine. I think we're all get stuck in knowing the acronym, the specific words, and we don't know how to necessarily, that we don't know necessarily that other people might not, know the specific definition of it. But speaking of the just transition, in your opinion, in your experience, what are some primary challenges that you have seen, based working on SOLIDAR, that you face implementing VET programs that are both effective, inclusive, keeping in mind the just transition, the just and green transition?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I think while we see that vocational education and training is, I would say, quite highly prioritized by policymaking when it comes to education policies and making sure that we can support the green transition, they don't necessarily always prioritize as much the just part of it, let's say. So if I can elaborate a bit more, I think it's a bit of a pity, and I hear a lot of VET actors actually voice the same concern, that we focus a lot on hard technical skills to be developed, especially in the world of VET, but in general, and we do not focus enough on what are more transversal competencies. For instance, in SOLIDAR, what we try to champion as a vision is the promotion of global citizenship education for all, and this includes VET, of course. And it is a pity for both the learners that are involved in VET experiences not to have as much access to citizenship education as maybe other learners, and on the other hand, for, I would say, the policy level not to see the importance of this. Because of course we do need, let me call them green engineers or green technical jobs that are both on the higher end or lower end of the income spectrum, that's, let's say, of the labor market, although I don't like to use high and low, but to give a clear idea of what I mean. But we also need all these workers, all people in fact, to be aware of what's going on, understand it, being able to navigate it, and eventually being able to also have an impact on it, be active and exert their agency on society in general. And for this, we cannot absolutely oversee the importance of citizenship education and in general transversal competencies such as critical thinking and others that are just as important as the technical ones for society.
Yeah, that's very true. We were just talking to in our previous episode with Alessia about critical thinking, so it's definitely, and transversal skills, so these are definitely important. And speaking of citizenship and global environment, how does SOLIDAR ensure that its VET initiatives are adaptable to diverse socioeconomic or cultural contexts across different regions?
This is something we are very proud to represent on behalf of our members, as it is our members. We have quite a diverse membership in SOLIDAR, but I think what they really all have in common is both the efforts they do to promote citizenship education, and also on the other hand, the fact they work with the communities that are not the privileged ones, let's say. So they have quite a good ability to reach out to learners with more vulnerable backgrounds or disadvantaged ones. And in this sense, I think their presence in the territory, the fact the communities trust them as actors, is what is sometimes lacking in the relationship with the institutions, and what allow our members to reach out to them and involve them in their learning activities. Why is it the case? Of course, because they don't try to talk down to them. Of course, because they try to engage them, and they try to organize activities where the learner is at the center, and it's really, if not always co-creating, surely always being an active learner in the process. So I think this is an important reason why our members manage to reach out to them. So my more direct answer to your question would be by engaging with the more vulnerable learners directly, instead of just talking about inclusion with learners that maybe have already access to different opportunities.
Absolutely, it's also kind of giving them autonomy, not just the recipient of the training, right? So and also identifying ambassadors who are basically representing them and where they can see themselves, as you mentioned. And speaking of, well, we were speaking of different collaborations. So in a lot of the projects and initiatives that we're doing, partnerships are very important. Maybe you can talk about how SOLIDAR is collaborating with other organizations, obviously such as EVBB, to enhance VET programs and addressing training gaps or skills gaps.
Yeah, I think the venue in which we do it the most and in a very conducive way is the Lifelong Learning Platform, the European umbrella organization for civil society working on education, in the sense that it is a venue where it is natural to convene across different sectors, so formal, non-formal, informal learning, and with organizations addressing very different age target groups and also social target groups. And I think this is the key for all of us to be able to convey common messages, to first of all meet, discuss together, and by doing so it's actually quite easy to find a common ground for common positions. So from this, of course, then we can draw joint projects. I mentioned one, we have more, just like EVBB has plenty of projects with different organizations, and I think EVBB is really a great organization at fostering these partnerships and cooperations. So thank you once again for inviting me and in general for facilitating these opportunities. And of course, then the LLP as such is a great facilitator for this, and I think it's something we need to continue cherishing, especially at times when we see the fragmentation is the trend. I think it is an important and relevant trait of the education community to be able to come together and stick together as well when the challenges such as the ones we face now, be it for funding reasons or because with all that is going on with security, we know education is not necessarily going to be priority number one in investment. So these are all important moments in policy making with very important impact on society for which we need to stand together and to stand for each other as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I think with the specific things happening now, things are kind of nebulous. And as you were saying, it's important for us to prioritize education. And speaking of this, what would you say some of priorities of SOLIDAR when it comes to vocational education and training?
For vocational education and training, I would say again the importance of not forgetting the broader angle of the learners in vocational education and training. So surely labor market is a driver for the offer of vocational education and training, but this is just another type of education that allow learners to develop competencies to be fully active in society. So not to limit the learning offer to technical skills or more labor market driven ones, but really to keep it open and also to foster the cooperation with civil society organizations, right? Because vocational education and training very often, in my perception at least, is understood mostly as a formal education, an activity that happens in formal education, but so many more opportunities can be opened if we see what civil society organizations also do and we allow cooperation between these two worlds. I think this is true for all formal education sectors, but this includes VET, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you like to perhaps talk about future initiatives that SOLIDAR is having? It's the best time to plug or communicate some information now.
Yes, thank you. We're just launching another alliance, the Civil Society Alliance for Global Citizenship Education. This is an important project for us. We are trying to involve both civil society organizations working on European education policies and also organizations working on international cooperation and sustainable development. And the aim, once again, is to bring these actors together to promote a joint aim, that is the one to make global citizenship education a priority, ensure that there is enough funding supporting it at the European level, and then, of course, with a cascade effect also at the national and local level. And of course, we aim to have a very strong VET participation as well.
It's really great. And my penultimate question, which is also connected to this, could you recommend any resources regarding for participants or for listeners who wants to learn more about SOLIDAR's initiatives? Where can they go and where can they visit?
They can visit our website, solidar.org. We're also present on social media. We are living X at the moment, but we are still present on LinkedIn and Facebook. And if you are curious about the toolkits and learning materials we produce, there is a page on our website that is called Training Materials, and there you can find a lot of quite interesting stuff, I hope, to learn more about what we do.
That's great. And last question for this, to wrap it up. If you could envision a significant change in vocational education and training, what would it be?
I think the opening up to cross-sectoral contamination, I would say, and the cooperation with different sectors. And in this sense, I think the work that the civil society organizations such as EVBB are doing to promote this, and along with this also having social inclusion as a main aim of vocational education and training would be already great achievements.
Great. Well, I think that wraps it up for today. Thank you so much, Elisa Gambardella from SOLIDAR, for joining us today.
Thanks to you.
And thank you all for listening, and see you next season.